Okay guys, this is a video. It's going to be a little bit of a lengthy video, not the typical test video at all, and not a video that I really wanted to do, but I'm doing it at the customer's request. This is actually a non-working amp in front of me, and it would be kind of strange if I did a video on a non-working amp and didn't give it any context. So this one was shipped back to me from a customer. It's a 4-pill 454 bass amp. The original test video was on 1/10 of this year, so January the 10th, and it tested around 200 watts average plus with 600 watts peak output, give or take. That was with my Connex hitting it. My Connex is off over here to the side. It's doing 50 watts peak and doing 20 watts average, so that's what we put into the amp, and I recommend on these somewhere between 50 and, absolute max about 70 watts PEP, but 50 to 70 watts PEP ideally. And I try to mention that in every video. Anyway, this video is for John. He's a customer. He requested I do this video since I got the amp back, so we're just going to give a little rundown of the history of this amp and the history of this transaction. One reason I always do business through text or email is so stuff like this, you can look back on it and you can say, okay, he said this, whatever I said. There's no he said, she said. It's all right there written for us to refer back to. So, there you go. I think he got this amp around the 16th or 17th. I don't have the exact date. I can look at my shipping records and see, but on the 20th, he sent me a text and he said, quote, "She's working good. I'm just cruising it. Nice quality. Thanks." On the 23rd, the customer asked me if they could run a Texas Star modulator into the amp. And I replied, do not put more than 70 watts absolute max peak into the amp. So that was the 23rd. The 26th, the customer texted me and said he was having trouble. Now this is January still. He said he was having amp issues and he had lost track of the Texas Star modulator and said the amp was only doing 4 max. I assume he meant 400 max. So I want to stop right there. Texas Star modulator. It operates with a variable power. Okay, one reason you have to be very careful when you're using any amp that has a variable as a driver is because the value on that variable can change as the resistors on it heat up. Now, the farther back you have the variable turned, the resistors can change value. The variable can start getting hot. And what ends up happening a lot of times is you might start out dead keying 4 watts and swinging 60, but if you have a QSO or a conversation on it, you might be dead keying 10 watts swinging 100 before you know it. So I have a feeling that's what happened in this situation. I don't know. He said he lost track of it. Could have been accidental. Could have been neglectful. A good chance that the modulator just rose up without him knowing it. The power increased. I asked him how much his radios were doing, and he told me 4 watts swinging 12. All right, pause again. I really think there's a situation of the customer got the wrong amp for their needs out the gate and set themselves up for failure, in my opinion. He should have had a 1-driving 4 or something like that. Had he got a 1-driving 4 that was better suited for his radio, he'd have had to turn his dead key down from 4 watts. But he wouldn't have been having to use a modulator to compensate. So anyway, he informed me of that and said he couldn't get it over 325 watts out of the amp. I let him know to contact Fat Boy, that they handle all the repairs. No amp comes with a catch-all warranty. I mean, I've done an extensive YouTube video on this. No amp builder out there covers transistors whatsoever. Fat Boy is real good about helping people out, and I'll get to that in a second. But they usually charge, way less than what your standard shop would charge to repair something. So that was, I'm trying to think, I think he shipped it out. I'd have to look. I think that was early February, late January when he shipped it out. So it's been about a month and a half since this was originally sold. And on the note of warranties, guys, I'll tell you, I'm not saying that as somebody that just sells. You might say, well, that's easy for you to say. You sell them. You don't run them. Trust me. I have blown many transistors myself, and none of them were warranted. I have also tore up very large amps that had relays in them that cost between $700 and $1,000. Tuners that cost $500. And none of that stuff was warranted. So yes, I have been on the side of tearing stuff up. I don't tear up a lot of stuff, but it has happened. I paid for that stuff out of pocket. So none of that stuff that I tore up was warranted either. But anyway, he got the amp back from Fat Boy. He sent it, got it back. They didn't put a ticket on it or anything, didn't charge him anything, didn't even charge him shipping back that I'm aware of. He said there was no note on it. And he claimed he still couldn't get over 350 watts out of it. So he wanted to ship it back to me and trade it in, which is leading up to where we're at right now. And I told him that I would allow him credit on the amp as long as it performed the way it did when it left here. So again, that refers back to the reason I do test videos. I can look back January the 10th and I can say, okay, this amp did 575 watts. If it comes back here doing 200 watts, then we have an issue. So he shipped it back to me. I got it yesterday, the day before. He said it was doing 325 watts when he left. So I opened up the box, and I'm just going to be blatant about this, guys. I knew the box was blown up when I opened it. I mean, I can smell the amp running right now. I can actually smell it in another room because it's got burnt components in it. And as soon as I opened the box that it was shipped in, I knew this amp was cooked. Now, the customer says that it was working when it left his house. I don't necessarily think that's true. I hate to call anybody a liar, but this amp was not working when it was shipped out. I can promise you that. When it was shipped to me, there is no way. Because I can smell burnt components from a mile away on this thing. Now, it powers up, but it does not allow output. It doesn't have any output, and it doesn't allow a radio to pass through it. So it's got a bad set of transistors. That's what it boils down to. What causes bad transistors? 9 times out of 10, overdriving or a high SWR. That's the two main things. Design quality falling somewhere down the line. But the primary two things that kill transistors, high SWR, being overdriven. So anyway, at this point I told the customer, John, I said, the amp's not working, man. Your best bet is to ship it back to Fat Boy, or I'll ship it back to Fat Boy. And I offered to do that free of charge, ship it back to him free of charge, ship it back to Fat Boy free of charge. And you know, that was it. I let him know it wasn't working, and he said he'd like to see a video of the amp not working. We'll get to that here in a second. We'll test it out and show you guys. But I called Fat Boy yesterday, talked directly to Charger, and they have a note of every amp that comes in there for repair. He can tell me who worked on it, and the actual guy that worked on this amp or looked at it, he's actually watches the YouTube channel sometimes, so he may chime in, I don't know. If I leave comments turned on. But they told me that when they got the amp from the customer that it was doing full output, 600 watts, 575 watts, something like that, and that they sent it back to him, that he had complained about the fan slowing down, so they did something to help the fan run a little faster. But as far as the amp, they said it was working full output when they sent it back to him. So that's 2 places it's been tested. You know, it was tested when it was originally built. I tested it before it went to the customer. The customer gets it, it's not doing what he thinks it should or has trouble with it. Fat Boy tested again, and they say it's working good. So it's worked good in Tennessee and New Jersey. Unfortunately, when the customer got it, it's not working, or he's having issues with it. Not doing the output he thinks, and possibly had a malfunction with it with the modulator. So let's test it real quick. We'll come back to talking about the amp here in a second, but we'll go ahead and test it. I tested it originally with my Connex. That's what I'm going to do again, and I'm going to be real detailed here and show you guys. There's the jumper going from the Connex. Goes in the back of the amp. You have your watt meter jumper coming out here. It goes to the watt meter, and then the black jumper goes to a dummy load. And so we'll go ahead and turn the amp on. Fix our stand here. You guys might be able to hear that relay clicking. You probably be able to hear it that way. You can tell when I'm keying up. There's a 1,000-watt slug right there, and we're going to be looking at the bottom scale. I'll go ahead and key up. Maybe you guys can hear the relay. Hello, audio, 1 2, 1 2 1 2, audio, 1 2, audio, no output, audio, check 1 2, audio. We'll go to peak. Hello, check, audio, check, audio, check, audio, check, audio. Nothing. We'll leave it on peak. Just show you the radio. This is with the amp off and the radio by itself. Audio, check, audio, showing about 50 watts. It's actually showing close to 60 on there. About 50, 55. Audio, check, audio. Audio, I'll do it while we're keyed up here. I'm gonna turn the amp on. Audio, check, audio, check, audio. Watch the power fall off. Audio, check. There you guys go. So, what does that mean? Bad set of transistors. It's not allowing power to go through it, and it's not putting any power out. So probably a bad set of pills in this thing. It's unfortunate. You know, I get the feeling that John and I probably won't be doing business together anymore. As unfortunate as that is, I have a lot of return customers. I try to keep it that way. But, you know, this has been kind of a sour deal for both of us, I guess. He probably feels like he's getting the worst end of it. But, I mean, like I said, guys, there's only certain things I can control. Every amp that leaves here has been tested at Fat Boy, and then it gets tested by me. So if there's a problem that they overlook, 99 times out of 100, I catch it. Okay? Rarely does that happen, but in cases that it does, I send them back. This amp worked flawlessly when it left here. Flawlessly. Probably one of the stronger 4-pill 454s that I've sold. And like I said, I really think it boils down to a case of the customer got an amp that did not suit his needs. He had to use a modulator to compensate, which led to a malfunction somewhere along the lines. Whether the modulator just rose in power or whether he had it turned up too high and didn't realize it. So what's going to happen now? I'm shipping the amp back to the customer at his request. I'm not charging him a dime. You know, I offered to ship it to Fat Boy, and he said he would rather have it shipped back to him. So that's what we're rolling with. He asked if he could trade it in, and I was blunt with him. I can't take a trade in on a blown up amp. I mean, the price I would offer wouldn't even be fair. So had the amp been working properly, you know, I would have offered him a fair trade back on the amp towards something else. But that's it, guys. Like I said, sorry to make this video. It is what it is. Wouldn't generally do this, but it was done at the request of the customer. All right, guys, have a good one out there. Rooster in Tennessee. More videos to come. Catch you out there. See you. Bye.